Hey, this is Clifton Fair, LMHC and Executive Coach. Welcome to Klif Notes. We will be covering a myriad of topics ranging from executive and leadership challenges, as well as our own human existence, running the gamut between being a human being as well as being a leader within organizations. Stay tuned, show up, listen, watch. We want to make sure that you capture everything that we provide on this show because it's going to help make you better.
Hey, welcome back. This is another episode of Klif Notes. We have an amazing guest with us, Mr. Chad Van Horn, and I want to read this to you directly because I don't want to miss a point. Chad is a board-certified PA and the owner of Icon Aesthetics and Wellness. That's in Davie, Southwest Fort Lauderdale. Chad is also focusing there on the injectables and hormone and weight loss therapies. Chad is also what he calls a look good, feel good medical provider. Chad is actually a husband of two girls, two amazing queens, and he's a musician, a DJ, and just all around good time kind of guy. Chad, welcome to Klif Notes.
Thank you so much.
I'm glad that we got a chance to kind of like put our heads together and do this today because I really feel like you and I both are working on, we'll say maybe even two different ends of the spectrum, but it's all in providing the best health for our clients and the community. You know, mental health, you have physical health that you're taking care of, the cosmetics, and that look good, feel good thing. I'm wondering how much of that is real versus maybe just cliche.
I think it's very real. I mean, you can approach it from, let's just take the aesthetic part of it. It was actually clinically measured and proven that even getting something as simple as a Botox treatment helped people with depression during the pandemic. Just the ability to go get outside their house, go get something done. If you can't frown, you can't activate those hormones associated with frowning. And it was actually raising people's baseline happiness.
Really?
Yeah.
So keeping your physical face together actually does impact you on a chemical level or an internal level.
Well, think about it like this. If you feel like you look good, you're going to feel good about that. And therefore it's kind of self-perpetuating. You're going to feel better because you look better. I mean, you ever wake up with a pimple or some kind of acne outbreak and all of a sudden you don't want to go to dinner, you don't want to go to that event on
Immediately,
Saturday?
we're shutting down the house.
Especially the ladies.
Yeah.
Especially ladies. Maybe guys not so much, but definitely the ladies. And then on the wellness side, the weight loss, obviously, how people feel about their weight is very much going to affect the way that they feel overall. The hormone therapies they become especially pertinent once men and women kind of hit their 40s and beyond. So men start losing their testosterone. Testosterone is very much an indicator. It affects your mood, your overall affect, how you feel, just your overall well-being. When your testosterone levels are at a good level, whether naturally or medically supported, you're just going to feel better. You're going to have a stronger sense of self, a better outlook on life. Your libido is better. So I think it very much affects the mental health, the wellness, the mood, the happiness, all of that.
As a mental health care provider, one of the first things that I ask, or one of the first questions that I ask a client when they're coming in, especially the men, is when was the last time you had a physical? You know, because I want to know as a mental health care provider, what are those baselines? You know, what are your numbers, literally? What do your numbers look like as it relates to what they're going through or what they're experiencing on a day-to-day basis? Because that might be something that they need to immediately address. And if so, I'm sending them your way. You know, hey, I need you to go talk to this young man. He can help you out.
Well, one thing that a lot of people don't realize is how much physical stress affects the rest of the hormone balance.
You mean the cortisol?
Cortisol.
Okay.
Cortisol is actually a steroid hormone that is directly connected upstream to your testosterone levels, to your progesterone levels. And the more stress you have, the more your body starts to spend cortisol. And in order to make cortisol, you have to go up the chain a little bit all the way up to pregnenolone. And pregnenolone is a direct substrate for producing more testosterone. So the more stress you have, the more cortisol you're spending can in fact have a direct correlation with your testosterone levels. And in 2023, 2024, there's the world's on fire.
Yeah.
Everybody's working 50 hours a week.
Yeah.
They got families at home. They have personal stresses. A lot of people don't take the time to exercise that proper level of self-care. They're not taking care of themselves. And the more that you spend and give, our bodies are just like a machine. They're just like a car. They're going to, they have their red line, their limit. And if you redline the engine for a long enough period of time, the engine's going to break down.
Right. You being able to, educate us about how that the cortisol is really impacting us with all the demands that we have. What's going to be like maybe the top 5 things that people will notice that they're experiencing in order for them to kind of start walking toward your door or toward the support or the help that you can provide them as a medical provider?
For men in particular, it's going to be coming home from work and just feeling like you have nothing left to give because you've already spent it all. So tiredness, fatigue, brain fog, low libido and sex drive, no motivation, desire to go to the gym. When you do actually make it to the gym, you just feel like everything's a struggle. I mean, it's just doing the exercise, the workout can be a struggle. It just feels like walking uphill with a 50-pound backpack on. When the testosterone level is good, you actually want to go to the gym.
Right,
and
it's
when
exciting.
you go to the gym, your efforts are rewarded at a much faster pace, right? And the testosterone levels, the lean muscle mass actually affects how you gain fat mass as well. A lot of people think that if you go run on the treadmill for an hour and you burn all these calories that you're going to lose weight. But if you look at like a marathon runner's body, they all look the same, right? They're very stringy, they're lean, but they're flabby at the same time, usually. So a little flabby in the arms, a little flabby in the midsection, versus a bodybuilder or somebody who is, working on their physique. The more that they do resistance training, resistance weights, and the more muscle cells that you're creating, and then you're hypertrophying those existing muscle cells. Well, every muscle cell in your body is like a hungry mouth to feed. So it's like having a house full of teenagers that are just coming in and eating you out of house and home, eating whatever's in the fridge. You burn calories just by nature of having lean muscle mass and muscle tone. And so that's why exercise directly affects the weight, but not sometimes in the way that people think it does.
Right.
You understand?
Right. So there's additional science that I feel like the layperson or just the community at large may be missing. So what you're saying is that they need to do the work inside as well as the work outside. So doing the work in the gym, that would be the work outside, but also doing the work internally to be able to check those levels in order to get the proper treatment. That's that inside work that they need to do.
Sure. Like if I put somebody on a testosterone therapy program, just being on testosterone and having a high testosterone level is not going to get you a result. You still have to go out and do the work yourself and, put the exercise in, put the time in order to see that outcome. But the term that we use in medicine is the basal metabolic rate, the BMR, not to be confused with the BMI, which is body mass index, but BMR is basal metabolic rate, which is basically how many calories does your body burn at rest.
At homeostasis.
Yeah.
Right.
What amount of CPU is the computer using when it's just sitting there on idle, right? And for most people, that number is around 1,500 to 1,800 calories a day. And so, if you eat 1,500 calories and your BMR is 1,400, that's gonna be a net positive. You're gonna gain that weight.
Right.
So having a higher testosterone level by nature raises your BMR. Exercising by itself raises your BMR. Having more muscle mass and lean muscle tone raises your BMR. And so that's why just exercising and doing resistance training is almost better than cardio from just a weight loss standpoint.
Right.
Obviously, cardio is still important. It's good for your endurance, good for your cardiovascular health.
Heart health, yeah.
Yeah, they're both important, but a lot of people miss that part of it.
The resistance training part.
Yeah.
Super important. We're talking a lot about the science, and you and I could sit and talk about this all day. I get really excited about it because I participate in both my mental health as well as being able to take care of my body from the inside out. But you're a dad, and I can't imagine that you're sitting at home with your two daughters and you're kind of pouring into them the importance of their BMR. How is it for you being able to manage and juggle all that as a professional, as a business owner, and then also being a dad? How are you keeping up with all that?
I mean, sometimes you just have to decide what your priorities are and what you're willing to sacrifice on. Mm-hmm. So for me, I'm also a user of testosterone. I'm on therapy myself. I'm 42 years old. Mm-hmm. I know sometimes I get judged younger than that, and that's in thanks to the Botox.
You're doing great.
Thank you. But prior to starting testosterone, when I checked my own levels, it wasn't that I was in that kind of sub 300 category, which would be clinical deficiency. Mm-hmm. I was around like a 500, 600, which is average.
Right.
It's about okay, mm-hmm. right? The difference is okay good enough for you, right? Yeah. So there's a difference between okay and optimized, right? So if you are deciding to live your life at a certain speed that's going to tax the body in a certain way, the cortisol and everything like that, many people have decided to run their life at a faster speed than what their body's willing to tolerate. So you either slow your pace down or you optimize the engine, right?
Right.
So for me, I decided that in order to be a provider, be a father, be an entrepreneur, and do the things that I want to do and accomplish both at a professional level, at a creative level, and not have to compromise time and energy that I spend on family, being a husband, being a father, it allows me the ability to put those hours in during my workday and be there for my clients and patients, but then also come home and have energy to spend time with my girls, to have the energy and the drive, the motivation to do the exercise. And it's really just about deciding what is most important to you, right? Everybody knows somebody who had that father who was so driven, almost as if by demons, and spent all of their time and their energy on becoming successful.
Captivated by making the money or providing for the family.
Exactly.
Right.
And then that kid felt like their father wasn't there for them.
Right. They missed out.
Everybody knows that person.
Right.
Right. Nobody has ever met the kid who grew up poor, grew up middle class, and dad was at every baseball game, every sporting event, and was disappointed about it.
Right.
I grew up that way. My dad didn't make a lot of money, but we never really felt poor, but we also felt like he was never not there for us.
Right. Dad was visible. He was accessible.
Yeah.
He was a role model.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's really just about making the decision to where you want to live your life and how you want to divide your time, and then does your body have the capacity to run at that speed for that duration? And that's where some of these therapies can kind of help.
I see you being able to not just promote that, but also live it, right? You being able to show up as being an active participant in all areas of your life, your world, your family, your business. What's that one piece that you're really trying to work on right now as that holistic person?
Obviously, it's about setting my financial success up for the future, because I don't want to be doing this forever. So putting those pieces in place to allow me the lifestyle that I want today, but also plan for the retirement in the future. And then also, who do I want to be in the industry that I'm working in? What type of projects do I want to accomplish from a creative standpoint? I am a creative type. I'm one of those people that does enjoy the social media aspect. I love making videos. I love making people laugh. So a lot of the content that I create is both, some of it's educational, but some of it's just purely for comedic purposes and making people laugh, because there's no medicine like humor.
No medicine like it. Absolutely.
So, and then just learning what it takes to be a business owner. So I've been in my industry for 7 years. I was a late graduate student. I went back to school following the housing crash of like 06, 07, 08. That was the catalyst that sent me back to school. So I took a step back in order to take 2 steps forward. So I was a little bit later to the game. So I've been in my industry for 7 years, and I've been out on my own as a business owner for 2 of those years. And so there's a lot of pieces that I'm still establishing, a lot of things that are still being built. Organization is not my strong side, which
we all struggle with it.
And that's one of the things that you and I have been working on together, and I appreciate your help and your input with that.
Thank you for letting me.
That's kind of where I'm at. Is trying to decide where I want this ship to go, and making sure it has all the components that it needs to get there.
Well, it sounds like you're super focused, and you're definitely checking those boxes that need to be checked in order for you to attain that success that you're pursuing. I'm excited personally, if I can throw this out there, to actually hear you spin at the next event. And so I'm gassed about that one. I was like, I definitely want to get out and hear Chad turn the tables a little bit.
I love it, man. I love it.
So I know that that's something that you're also digging into, and I just wanted to at least highlight this for the viewing and listening audience. Having that sense of creativity in your life is something that gives back to you in exponential ways, right?
Sure.
Don't you agree?
Absolutely.
You know, what type of excitement are you getting as you kind of dig into your creative juices, or you allow those to flow? And how is that kind of translating for you in your day-to-day work life?
My issue is just finding time and making time for all of the ideas that I have in my head, because the ideas come a million a minute,
right.
And it's about sifting through and finding what are the ones that I want to focus on right now, and then making the time to actually follow through and execute to its completion, right? I'm probably not alone when I say, I've got a million projects that are like barely started, halfway through, partially finished, and then you get excited about like the next thing, and then my ADHD kicks in, and I start diverting my attention this way, and then forget that I even ever worked on this one to begin with. But in specific, I'm excited about the idea of something that I made that existed from nothing,
right,
and became something, because once it's made, right? And as a creative, and that can go for a song that I produce, or a video that I make for the Instagram or the YouTube. As a creative, I think we all feel that sense of deep satisfaction to see a project go from inception to completion, and then see that have an effect on somebody else. Yeah, whether they liked the music, whether the video made them laugh, whether it just made them feel good. That's where I'm at. I kind of realized that if I was to boil my life down into a little mantra, the things that I personally want to bring to the world is beauty, music, and laughter, right? Not so much the things that divide us as a culture, as a community, but the things that we can all agree on, the things that unify us. And I think those are three of the things at least. And if I can contribute to that, that's something that I feel like I could leave this lifetime, this planet, and feel good about that.
I really like that, man. You really did keep it simple. You broke it down. This is definitely how I want my life to be reflected, or how I want people to understand it. I love that. Thank you for that, Chad.
Sure.
Listen, I know we're running out of time, but if you were speaking to, the up and coming PA, or the up and coming, and by the way, PA is physician's assistant for those who don't know that word, but if you were speaking to that class of students, or just business owners that were trying to like get started, or just trying to like push through a tough time, what would be one or two nuggets that you would want to leave them with?
Well, there's so many different ways I could go with that question. The PA field has grown leaps and bounds over the last couple decades. We went from this very obscure profession that people didn't really know who we were, what we were doing. The name itself is confusing and misleading. Physician assistant. It's physician, not physicians.
Right.
Because we don't belong to anybody.
Exactly. Yes, sir. Excuse me if I made that mistake. Physician assistant. Unassistant. Right.
Physician assistant. And more recently, they've actually lobbied to change the name to physician associate.
Okay.
So there's still a bunch of legal documentation that needs to change and be updated. But that idea was to kind of separate ourselves from the confusion that, like a medical assistant, for example, which is a similar title but a completely different scope of practice, profession altogether. So as far as future medical professionals coming up, The hard part is the medical system in America has its flaws, to put it nicely.
Yep.
Right? It's largely driven and governed by the healthcare agencies, by the insurance companies, and people who go into it with very altruistic mentality and they want to help people. I think anybody who gets into the field gets into it because they want to help people, and they see it as a means of stable income, allows them to, provide for themselves and their family, but also give back to other people and help the community at large. Mm-hmm. And the longer that they stay in it, the more they just get disenchanted, because it really just becomes a cover your ass game.
Almost even like a wrestle with red tape almost.
Yeah, it's like, how do I document the things that I need to document in order to get paid by the insurance company and also not get sued by a malpractice lawyer or something like that.
Right.
So it's hard because there's all this minutia involved in the medical field at large, and more than ever, there's a lot of nurses, PAs, nurse practitioners, and even some doctors that I know that have jumped ship on the traditional medical model entirely and are pursuing more of this one-on-one cash-based quality over quantity, where it's direct fee for service.
Let me take care of you.
Let me take care of you. Let me meet your need.
Yeah.
Just yesterday, I did a training for dermal fillers for a newer injector who works at a practice where they offer all of these different IV therapies and ozone and high-dose vitamin C and all these things that would be considered very alternative. And obviously the insurance companies aren't going to pay for that.
Right.
And so it's basically between the provider and the consumer at that point. So I guess what I want to say is if a PA student decides to go the route of traditional medicine, learn the business side of it at the same time. Learn how the money flows, and maybe to the point where they even learn how to do their own coding and billing through insurance companies, because that is where the money comes from.
Absolutely.
You have to submit your diagnosis code, your procedural code, in order for the insurance company to pay you back. Mm-hmm. So whether you're working in family medicine, whether you're working in surgery, learn the back end business, learn how Medicare pays you, how they reimburse. There's a whole, fee schedule. Mm-hmm. And when you get employed by a practice or by a group, that practice or group is making money off of your labor, which means that, they're paying you this much, but they're getting paid this much.
Absolutely.
And maybe, just maybe, with enough time and experience, you can cut out that middleman, go into business for yourself.
Right. Keeps costs down also. It
does keep costs down. And, then you have the new headaches of learning how to be an entrepreneur a little bit and a business owner. But people want that. The consumer also recognizes that there's major flaws in the healthcare system, and they just want to be taken care of. And a lot of people are willing to pay you directly so that they can have their problems met. They don't want to
quality care. They
don't want to have to wait for 3 weeks for an appointment. They don't want to have to get bounced around from one doctor and then get a referral just to go see this doctor just to get their need met. They want to feel better, and they want to feel better now. So it's a very broad question, and there's many ways that you could answer it. But
you gave us a really good answer, and I feel like that's something that people can actually hold on to as they navigate the water of becoming someone like yourself as a medical care provider. I say thank you, because your presence, your knowledge base, and the care that you provide for the community is amazing. So we say thank you for even being here today.
My pleasure.
How would people actually connect with you if they wanted to reach out and get some support from you?
So they can definitely connect with me on Instagram. I have handles for my business as well as my personal professional handle, which is a little cheeky. This is kind of one of my evil genius business moves. But my personal professional handle is Needle Daddy.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, easy to remember.
Yeah.
Hard to forget.
Right.
Needle Daddy.
Needle Daddy. I love that.
That started by a client that I had who actually now today works for me as my client coordinator.
Okay.
And when she came to see me originally, we did a treatment with her, and she said, some of these girls down here have a sugar daddy.
Right.
You're going to be my needle daddy.
I love it.
I was like,
I love it.
I like that.
I love it. So Needle Daddy.
Yeah, so Needle Daddy is the Instagram. They can definitely go to my website, which is icon-wellness.com. And if they want to request a consultation, if they live in South Florida, I'm happy to see them in my office for any concerns they have related to facial aesthetics or hormone balancing therapy, medically assisted weight loss. And I can also do, if they don't live locally, I can do like a teleconsult over a Zoom or a FaceTime call or something like that as well.
Thank you once again. I really appreciate you showing up today, Chad. Y'all check him out on his social media platforms. And please make sure that you're taking care of yourself from the inside out. You got help. Thank you once again for tuning in to another episode of Klif Notes.